Today's topic is classification. So what is classification about? Let's start with writing some questions in a book and finding answers for it. So my questions is, what does classification mean? You could use the dictionary to help you. What verb does the word classification come from? If I give you a basket of different fruits and vegetables and told you to classify them into fruits and vegetables, what would you do? Think about it. How can you place those fruits and vegetables into different groups? What would you base it on? Why do we group objects, similar objects together? So think about it. How does that help us when we put similar things together? So things that look the same or things that do the same thing all in one section. Why does that help? Can you think of different ways to place objects into groups? So there's many ways that we can make groups. What do we base those groups on? So do we base them on color? Do we base them on shape? Is there a way better than another way? Have a think. So your first task is you have those objects or items in the picture, and I want you to place these into different groups. So think about what would you base it on? Like, why did you group certain items or objects together? Now, we want to complete a mind map. And this mind map is asking us, where do we see things arranged in groups? So what I would do is I would draw a circle in your book and I'll write inside the circle, where do we see things arranged in groups? Then I'll draw a line coming out of the circle and write the name of the place. So for me, I think about supermarkets or shops. They have things arranged in groups. So we see there is section for fruits, section for vegetables, sections for dairy products, there's sections for canned food, there's a section for makeup, there's sections for bakery. So where do we see other places that have similar way of arranging things into groups or classifying? Now, when we talk about placing objects or items or living things into groups, we talk about taxonomy, which is the study or the science of grouping and naming things. As you can see, this is a picture of a taxonomist. A taxonomist is a scientist who specializes or works mostly in grouping and naming living things. So what a taxonomist does is classify living things and give them names. In this picture, we have a taxonomist. And what he is doing is he's looking through microscope. A microscope helps us see objects that are too small and that are hard to distinguish through our naked eye. So he's looking through the microscope to look at these beetles, and because he can use the microscope, he can see differences between them. It might be different colored beetle, or could be different structures that they have, or different shapes. So he's using the microscope to help him find which one belong to which group. Now we have a diagram that help us to see those classification or grouping of items. And we use diagrams because they're easy for people to look at and understand. Now, you might not find it easy to understand yet because we have not went through many diagrams. So we're going to try to go through some diagrams, see if you guys can learn what they mean. So in this example, we're using 4 different shapes: a square, a triangle, a circle, and a oval. And we want to see what groups they have been put into through this diagram. So what do those things have in common? They're all figures, they're all shapes. Then they divided into 2 major groups. A group that have straight sides, so sides are the outside of a shape. So we have 4 straight sides in here, we have 3 straight sides here. And the other group is no straight sides. So we have no straight side and no straight side there either. Then, because we want to classify each shape into a single group, then we have separated the square from the triangle by how many sides do they have. So shapes that have 4 sides are put into this group, which includes squares, and shapes that have 3 sides, like a triangle, are placed in this group. Now, on the other side, we have shapes that do not have diameters and shapes, that do not have equal diameters, and shapes that have equal diameters. Now, some of you don't know what the word diameter means, so let me explain. So if you draw a dot at the center of the circle or oval, and then try to draw a line that goes through the center of the circle from one side of the circle to the other, then that will be a diameter. It has to be a straight line though, crossing the center of the circle or the oval. Now for the circle, if we draw a diameter, it will always be equal. All the diameters will have the same size. So if we draw a line and it's 2 centimeters through the center of the circle, then any line that we draw from one point to another going through the center will always equal 2 centimeters. Now, how is an oval different? Well, if we put a center for oval and we draw a diameter, this diameter will be longer than this diameter, and that diameter will be longer than that diameter. So you can see that for an oval, diameters are not all equal. So that's how this diagram is created. Now, this is your task. Can you place a triangle in one of a rectangle, in one of those 4 groups? How about a hexagon? Which group would it fit in? Or does it fit in these groups? Do we need an extra group? Now we have a different kind of diagram, going from left to right. So in this diagram, we have 4 animals. We have a duck, a hen. A hen is a chicken, lizard, and a snake. And we ask some questions to separate those animals into 4 different groups. So our first question is, does this animal have feathers? Well, yes, ducks and hen has feathers. And no, lizard and snake do not have feathers. So you can see that this straight line represents feathers, and then going up represents yes, they have, and then going down it represents no, they don't. So if we continue with the group that said yes, they have feathers, we see that there is another question we're asking ourselves, which is, can they swim? Well, ducks can swim, yes. No, hens do not. So that's why if when the line goes up, it says yes. So that's how the duck is in a separate group that have feather and can swim, whereas the hen is in a separate group, which is a group that has feathers but cannot swim. Now, if we go down to animals that do not have feathers, we have a different question, which is asking us, do they have legs? Well, lizards do have legs, so yes, but snakes don't, so they have a no. So I want you now to think about, where would a turtle fit? What about a swan? Now, you don't have to put them in these groups. If you can come up with a different group that you can add to this diagram, that would be great. That's a third diagram. Again, similar idea. So we're starting with a question asking us, does this animal have dry skin? Well, a lizard, tiger, gorilla, and a human do have dry skins. So yes, they're part of the yes group. And a salamander does not have a dry skin, so it's a part of the no group. Now, because salamander is already classified into one group by itself, doesn't need to have other animals in that group of animals that do not have dry skin. So we'll continue with the yes group that do have a dry skin, and we're asking ourselves a different question. Do they have hair? Where a lizard does not. So we already have separated lizard from tiger, gorilla, and a human because they do not have hair. Next question, do they have opposable thumbs? Now, what does opposable thumbs mean? If you take your thumb, can you touch your other fingers using your thumb? Well, for a human, yes, we can do that. For a gorilla, yes, they can do that as well. That's why they can grab on trees very easily. Whereas a tiger cannot do that. So that's how the tiger is separated from a gorilla and a human. Next question, is the animal bipedal? So bipedal means can it stand on two legs, or can it walk on two legs? Well, gorillas cannot. So that's how they separated from humans, and that's how humans are separated from gorillas, because humans can stand on two legs. Now, from this diagram, can you say which animal is least similar to humans and which animal is most similar to humans? Think about it. Now, our last idea in this, I want you to think about a system that we use to classify objects or things, as in putting them into groups. We call this system, one of the ways that we can classify things, we call that system dichotomous key. So in this class, we classify using a dichotomous key by asking one question at a time until each object is classified separately from other objects. So if we have 6 objects, we'll end up with 6 groups. Usually we ask only questions that have 2 possible answers. So we don't want to ask a question that have multiple answers or more than 2 answers. So because we want questions with 2 answers, a good choice is a yes and a no question because they only have 2 answers. Now, if we look at the word dichotomous, di means 2. So this refers to asking questions that have 2 answers. Can you try to read those questions and see which one would be more suitable or appropriate when doing a dichotomous key? What color is the object? Is the object green? How does this object move? Where does this animal live? Does this plant have flower? Does this animal eat meat? Is this human tall? Is this human taller than 1.5 meters? Is this person